Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hope you're doing well. It is a beautiful gray day. Storm has lightened a little bit, so that's good. Let us enjoy the Wi-Fi while it is working. Let's begin. Go ahead and listen to this as you are eating some pecan pie, like I was earlier. You are sipping on some good old coffee, looking at fishes in your fish tank, whatever great thing you got going on. All right. So, in Dr. Salih al Fawzan's book about Tawhid, the title specifically is called Aqida Tawhid, the Creed of Monotheism. We are in the section number 3 that says the prerequisites of the Shahadatain, the conditions of La ilaha illallah, none has the right to be worshipped but Allah. So there's these conditions that he talks about that they're there if if they're not there, you're not going to get as many benefits. So I want to read these conditions to you. It says here, regarding La ilaha illallah, 7 conditions must be present. One who utters it will not be benefited thereby except with the presence of all of them conditions. Okay? So the conditions have to be there. Let's begin. It says knowledge, which precludes ignorance. So you need to have knowledge. Certitude, which precludes doubt. So if you have certitude, it'll help kick out doubt. So notice this though. If you have knowledge, that's going to give you certitude, because ignorance creates doubts. Acceptance, which precludes rejection. Adherence, which precludes neglect. Notice how neglect and rejection are almost synonymous with each other. Sincerity, which precludes polytheism. Affirmation, which precludes denial. Love, which precludes its opposite, hatred. So, if none has the right to be worshipped but Allah, you love Allah and adhere to the commandments. You love the deen, you love the faith, you love the prophets. You affirm the affirmation that none has the right to be worshipped but Allah, and you affirm the tenets of the faith. You hear and we obey type of affirmations, right? Sincerity, because if you're sincere in your monotheism and worshiping Allah alone, the polytheistic elements will be pushed out because you're upon the straight path and you're sincere in your worship. And if you're sincere in your worship, there ain't gonna be no room for polytheism. Adherence will help you to stay on that path and not neglect any parts of the rulings, which is beneficial. But you need to have the knowledge before you can adhere. So him including knowledge, that's important, because if you neglect something, it can be due to ignorance or it can be due to doubt. So with knowledge comes certitude. It's really interesting how all these kind of build upon each other. So I really like that section. Now, he's going to get into this section of knowledge that he listed. He says here, knowledge about its meaning, the meaning of La ilaha illallah, its intent, what negates it, and what establishes it. Knowledge which precludes ignorance about it. Now, we learn none has the right to be worshipped but Allah. At first, that can sound quite easy. But in actuality, pointing out elements of shirk can help you to understand how to not invalidate your monotheism, and I find that to be very, very helpful, because as someone who was a former atheist, right, there are things that when you start to leave atheism, people start moving towards the I'm spiritual aspect, and with that comes mistakes of like amulets, weird rituals, trusting soothsayers, fortune tellers, palm readers, dream interpreters, right? There's all these different, shamans, gurus, people who place themselves as someone who can see or tap into the unknown. And with that, you are trusting that they are able to aid you as some sort of intercessor into what is good. And you don't just turn to your Maker alone. You can sometimes seek out these people before turning to Allah in prayer. So, as somebody who has learned a lot about Islamic monotheism, I feel like it's very important to understand what the meaning and intent is upon none has the right to be worshipped but Allah. It is so simple, yet it's deep at the same time when you pick it apart. Because shirk negates that statement, as he acknowledges. Now, there's a quote here from the Quran that he has for us. Except those who bear witness to the truth, i.e. believed in oneness of Allah and obeyed His orders, and they know the facts about the oneness of Allah. Quran 43:86. Now, you bear witness to the truth that none has the right to be worshipped but Allah. You bear witness to that truth, you should follow it, so don't negate it. With knowledge comes power. Alright, he goes further. That is, they testified that none has the right to be worshipped but Allah, and they know in their heart what they have testified to. Aha! So, you know you made that testimony. You made that oath, the Shahada, to God, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Follow it, obey it, understand it. You made a testimony. The testimony of faith is to be taken quite seriously, and that testimony includes monotheism. Therefore, once you take that testimony, you must learn what negates that testimony, right? Since the testimony is linked to a monotheistic aim. So if one uttered it without knowing its meaning, it would not benefit him because he has not believed in its implication. This is why it's fascinating when somebody in the past, another YouTuber, mocked me for studying Islam before I said my Shahada, because I wanted to know, what is the meaning of this oath? What is it? What am I agreeing to here? What is Islam? What is it? Right? What am I going to live by? What is this new code that's going to encompass my life? This is about salvation. This is a very serious topic. But to some people, they hear a couple lines and then they feel the need to say their oath then. And then learn about it. Which sometimes people can get shocked and have a more crisis of faith. Like, oh, I didn't know I was saying yes to this, or I don't think I can do that, or that sounds difficult. Rather, we have to help each other learn and embrace how we all came to Islam. But I did like processing the information and really letting it just overcome me, and how Allah led me to Islam was an unfolding process, and I liked that. And so it benefited me greatly because I knew what the testimony meant when I said my Shahada. It was deeply powerful because I knew what it entailed. So if someone would have pushed me after, 3 weeks of learning about Islam to say it, I don't think it could be taken as seriously by me because I didn't really know what it's all about. But when I studied and I knew what it was all about, it made a lot of sense, and it helped me have deeper conviction within me. So again, knowledge about what establishes it, knowledge about its meaning, and knowledge about what negates it. Now for the certitude point, okay, which he said precludes doubt. He has lines here for us. That one who utters it be convinced of what it implies. If he has doubts as to its implication, it will not benefit him. Allah the Most High said, only those are the believers who have believed in Allah and His Messenger, and afterwards doubt not. Quran 49:15. So doubt is the opposite of certitude. So if we want to be true believers, we have to have certitude. And he used an ayat to justify this reasoning. Okay? So if none has the right to be worshipped but Allah, and we are certain in that, we are less likely to commit shirk as well, I'd argue. Because once you know you have a direct line to your Creator, it's very difficult for someone to dissuade you from that path to commit shirk. I'll give a personal example. The other day, I'm eating a sandwich. My baby's screaming in the stroller because she wants to be held. But I need to eat, and I'm waiting for her sister to get out of school. Right? Bell's gonna ring. There was 2 Mormon female missionaries who were trying to give me some of their ministry. I did be very polite, but it was a little annoying because they can see my baby's crying, screaming really loud, and I'm frustrated because I need to finish the sandwich. I'm pushing with one hand, like trying to rock the baby. It's not the time to speak to me about theological matters when I'm tending to a screaming child who is unhappy, and the weather was quite on the turn, was quite ready to start raining. So I was very anxious about hurrying getting home, even though we have a rain cover for the stroller, and I had a poncho over my Islamic clothing, a raincoat, that is, a rain poncho. Still, I was very anxious and sleep deprived. So for them to try to minister to me was annoying, but when they were talking to me, they asked me, like, they were pretty surprised how much I knew about Mormonism. And I pointed out that I have read much of the Book of Mormon, as you know, on my channel. And I told them the reason why I chose Islam is because it has pure monotheism. And the look on one of the ladies' faces, you could see she was kind of insulted and displeased with such a response. But in my heart, I felt a tightening upon Islam. I don't know how to explain it. Where I learn about other faiths, but that doesn't mean that I would adopt it. No. I'll never go back to thinking Jesus is the Son of God. It's just not what I'm going to do. I would never, God willing, right, say, in the name of Jesus, or pray to Jesus, right? No. Once I started to learn about Tawhid, pure monotheism of Islam, I like the connection just to my Creator. Because in the end, Jesus was created, right? I'm not going to do none of that intercession stuff. I'll invoke only Allah, pray to only Allah. I like that. That's our privilege, essentially, as a created being, that we have that connection with our Maker. But as these women were trying to minister and not having such an easy job with a nerd such as myself, I just felt more thankful to be Muslim, right? And so that showed I didn't have a doubt about my faith. So the certainty he speaks of, I had that. So when someone tried to move me from my path, no, not going to happen, right? So that little example in my own personal life showed I didn't have doubt. And I like that. Kind of shows how you have to believe. He continues further. If he is skeptical about it, then he is a munafiq, a hypocrite. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "Whoever you meet behind this fence, who testifies that there is none worthy of worship except Allah, being certain thereof, give him the glad tidings of paradise." So, whoever is not convinced thereof is not qualified to enter paradise. Okay. What we learn from this is that he contends that certainty is what helps you get into paradise. If you have doubts about La ilaha illallah, none has right to be worshipped but Allah, how are you going to get into paradise? Because then you wouldn't be a true believer, and if paradise is made for true believers, you must rid yourself of doubts. So knowledge helps you get rid of doubts, so we must seek knowledge so that we can have certainty, so that we can get into paradise. See the logical connection here? I really like this scholar, you know? I don't know if he speaks English, but it would be so cool. It'd be cool to meet that individual. Okay, now we are in... Oh, actually, we'll pause here because It's already at 14 minutes. Okay, so we got to knowledge and certitude. The next one will be acceptance. And I'm very excited for that. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. By the way, if you'd like to join my blog, it's www.subscribestar.com/MilahanArchive. I have been typing more different topics on there, long form, short form, but I'm trying to foster a community of nerds and like minds. And since it's like you pay $5 a month or however much you want above that, just $5 is the minimum. But that paywall helps us to keep trolls out and whatnot. And if someone pays to be a troll, I can easily remove them from the blog. So going on my blog, I'm able to get around some really good intellectuals and good-minded people. So I'm encouraging you that if you want to have a sense of community in some way, consider joining. And take care. See you next time.